Series Saturday at 7:45, ITV1.
Hello, did you love it or loathe it?
Well, whether you struggled in the snow or played in it, there was certainly no escaping it today.
On the roads, it's been a go-slow. Many towns and villages started the day cut off, and thousands of passengers were left waiting as airports battled to clear their runways.
We're waiting, we're going to drive now, over to Geneva on by car, the old traditional way.
But what about the fun? We've been out enjoying the thrills, chills and spills of an old-fashioned winter's day.
And your photos of what you got up to. You sent us hundreds. We'll show a selection of them at the end of the programme.
Yes, some great pictures to look forward to tonight. Also, you could win a trip to the Brits.
And if you've ever been stung by bank charges, you'll want to hear from this woman. She's just won back £23,000 of excess charges.
But our main story today, of course, is the weather. There's been huge disruption as the region's battled to cope with the worst snowfall for nearly 4 years.
Thousands of children have had the day off as more than 500 schools were shut. Airports have been closed and gritters have laid down more than 2,500 tonnes of salt to try and keep roads open.
Well, our reporter Philippa Heap has been monitoring developments and joins us now in the snow in Bedford.
Hello there. Well, I think when we opened the curtains this morning and looked out, none of us were surprised to see a layer of snow staring back at us, but inevitably with it, it brings chaos and disruption. Well, here in Bedford this evening, it's a lovely scene actually. We've got snow. It's still very chilly though. I'm told the big thaw is on its way. Now, Sarah Beecroft has been out and about in the region today. She's been seeing how we've all been coping.
They predicted the heaviest snowfall in 10 years, and by first light this morning it was clear the forecasts were probably right. The M1 motorway, usually gridlocked during the morning rush, eerily quiet as motorists heeded the warnings and stayed at home. Hundreds of schools across the region closed for today at least. And Luton Airport, no flights in or out.
We are still waiting for a flight and we don't know whether it's cancelled or not yet. So the only thing you could do is just wait, and that's it.
Just been cancelled, and that's it. So we're waiting, we're going to drive now, over to Geneva on by car, the old traditional way.
Rather be safe and have to wait. So wait we will, yes. And hopefully we'll find some sun the other end.
And it didn't matter how famous the passengers, even a familiar face from EastEnders was held up.
You can't book in, it's indefinite, so it could be 2-3 hours. We're only going across to Belfast.
Disappointed?
Well, I'm really, because we're going to see some kids in a play tonight at my brother-in-law's school.
So far, between both Luton and Stansted, over 130 flights have been cancelled. More than 9,000 passengers have been affected by the airport closures. And in the last 24 hours, just in our region, more than 4,000 miles of roads have been gritted. That's the distance from here to India. Gritting teams worked through the night to keep the roads clear. For anyone braving the commute to work, delays too on the railways. The Highways Agency repeated their warnings today. If you don't need to travel, then don't, with treacherous driving conditions making some roads impassable.
It could have been a lot worse. It's been very busy. All the cars out on patrol have gone from job to job to job. Fortunately, they've been either vehicles having minor crashes or going off the road into ditches. And I say no one's been badly hurt today.
For the vulnerable among us, the sensible decision, stay indoors. At Luton, some flights are now landing and taking off, but with more delays and cancellations predicted, the full-on effect of this weather is likely to continue for days to come. Sarah Beecroft, Anglia News.
Well, snowplows out there, Philippa, but the big question, of course, is what's it like out on the roads now for people heading home?
Well, this is the latest situation at the moment. There are no reported major problems. However, the A5 is closed in both directions in Bedfordshire. That's due to an accident. Obviously, the roads are a lot clearer than they were this morning, but it's going to become a lot icier, so do take care. In terms of the trains, we have seen cancellations and delays today, but the best advice that I can give you is to check with National Rail Inquiries, and indeed ditto for the planes. If you're travelling to an airport, then check with your airline before you set off from home. Indeed, if you're on foot tonight, maybe you're taking the dog out for a walk, then do be careful because it is very slippy underfoot, and my advice would be wrap up warm, just like I have.
Very wise. Thanks, Philippa, for now.
Well, we've had the latest on the travel. Time now to get the latest on the weather. Will the snowmen be melting, or can we reinforce them a bit? Wendy, have we had the worst of it?
I think it's safe to say we've had the worst of it. It is still snowing in some places across the region, as we just saw, but it's safe to say we did have the worst of it this morning. It turned up just about to plan, really, just in time for rush hour, inconveniently. Affected Bedfordshire and Northamptonshire the worst, and down across Luton, Hertfordshire, that sort of area. So, as I say, yes, I hope we gave you enough time to prepare for rush hour this morning. Certainly no problems like what we saw the last time we had this amount of snow. That was in January 2003, in the last days of January, when we recorded 15 centimetres of level snow in Brinkley in Cambridgeshire. Today, our weather correspondent in Bedford recorded 10 centimetres of snow, so we were nearly up there with that amount of snow. Now, the big problem we've got tonight is all of that snow, slush and wetness is likely to freeze as the temperatures fall to freezing overnight tonight. We're also looking out for some freezing fog, so for the next few hours or so, certainly overnight, there are some more treacherous driving conditions about. As Philippa said, do take care if you're out and about, and have more detail on this in the 5-day forecast at the end of the programme.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks, Wendy. So, yeah, certainly not much fun on the roads has it been, and not for this evening. But if your school was closed today, well, that was another story.
We sent Kate Prout off to find the fun side of today's wintry weather.
No matter how much you love school, it's never going to be this much fun, is it? Especially when the teachers start joining in.
We're not closed officially. In fact, we have got 5 children who didn't have any care at home that we are looking after today, following a really good curriculum such as snowman building.
In this country we're just not used to snow, and it is such a rare occurrence. I think it's great for young ones to be able to be out in there and experiencing the cold and the snow. It's lovely.
And who says you have to have a sledge to go down a slippery slope? Anything goes here in Spring Park.
I just love coming down there with all my friends and family and going sledging and play snowball fights and being off school. It's really fun.
Sometimes you get to be off school. It's just great, really.
You get to go down really quick on your sledge.
Now, when you're filming in snow, well, the inevitable always happens. And I say, if you can't beat them, well, join them. Next, watch carefully. Here's how to make a snowman in 30 seconds. It's not just people having trouble standing up. This little fellow would be far happier swimming downstream, I suspect. And rule number 1. A good reporter should get involved at all times, even if it is at great personal expense. Kate Prout, Anglia News, Northampton.
She suffers for her profession,
it's
doesn't
terribly.
she?
What a hard working day she's had. I don't know. Let's go back to Philippa now. Philippa, I mean, a lot of people having fun in the snow, of course, but what everybody says is, why are the headlines snow, chaos, it paralyses the country?
We grind to a halt.
Why do we grind to a halt in this country?
You know, you two, you're just so cynical, you two, aren't you? Honestly, we only have about... And indeed, airports like the ones in Scandinavia, they wouldn't have been able to open either. So to say that they were only closed for 5 hours, then they did pretty well.
Yeah, they would say that. Thank you, Philippa. I bet they have schools open in Sweden. We haven't quite done with the snow yet. We've still got your photos of what you've been up to today to come.
Also coming up, A lesson for deaf ears. Jeff Rich from Status Quo tells us how he damaged his hearing. So how do we protect our children from losing theirs?
Also, we're behind the scenes at last night's big game at Franklin's Gardens when the Saints took on Argentina.
欢迎到 cherry trees.
And 1 billion people can't be wrong. We're off to the school where they're learning Chinese.
Coming up at 6:30 as the blanket of snow turns to a sheet of ice, driving conditions tomorrow are expected to be treacherous. We'll give you some advice on how to keep safe.
And the inside story at America's Top Gun base, home to the pilot named by newspapers today as the man who fired on Lance Corporal Matty Hull. That and more at 6:30.
Right now, though, to a real bugbear for many people. It's so frustrating. Your bank statement arrives and you see that you've been charged a fortune.
You know, the money to pay your bills has come out of your account the day before your wages have gone in, so your bank charges you £20, £30, £40.
A lot of money? Well, a single mum from Corby was so angry by what she calls bank robbery that she took them to court.
So far, Tracy McInnes has managed to get back more than £23,000 for herself and her neighbours. Claire McGlasson reports.
Sycamore Close in Corby is the headquarters of an epic battle. And this is Mission Control. Tucked away inside is Tracy McInnes, who has taken on the banks and won. Won, to be precise, more than £23,000 of bank charges paid out by her and her friends.
The banks make me really, really mad. I'm a single parent, I'm not on a high income, and to take £39 off for being short for a couple of pounds for a direct debit, I think that's just mad. I don't know where they think they've got the right to charge people that kind of money.
So Tracy, like thousands of other customers, took her fight to court. Banking regulations state that charges are only allowed to cover administration costs. But Tracy pointed out the sums just don't add up. Because when we become overdrawn by even just a few pence, the banks will charge us as much as £40. The true cost, according to an independent report, is more like £4. That's a tenth of the cost.
Hi Tracy, all right? How you doing?
After claiming back more than £500 from her own bank, Tracy spread the word and helped dozens of friends and neighbours to claim another £22,000.
£1,800. They did offer me £900, but I'm going to stick it out to the end because it's my money at the end of the day and I want it all back.
So how helpful has Tracy been?
Oh, she's been brilliant. I wouldn't have known what to do if it hadn't been for her.
So what's Tracy's advice? Well, the first step is to find out and add up the charges you've paid, plus interest. Then write to the bank asking for your money back. You'd be surprised how often they agree to pay. If they refuse, threaten to take your case to a small claims court, where the court costs are relatively low. But the final stage may well be see you in court. Tracy has won her battle with the banks, but this is war. Victory now means forcing them to lower their charges for good. Claire McGlasson, Anglia News, Corby.
Tests have proved that 3 workers from the Bernard Matthews turkey farm hit by bird flu have not contracted the H5N1 virus. They were given the all clear after hospital tests overnight. The Health Protection Agency says it's expecting several more workers to come forward with similar symptoms, but they're almost certain to be just common colds.
A £20 million investment package has been announced by a train company which will see extra services stopping at Peterborough and Stevenage. GNER said 2 diesel high-speed trains will be given a major makeover under plans to introduce 12 extra weekday services on the London to Leeds route from May. The company says the trains will get new interiors and engines and will provide 1.6 million seats a year.
Now, always got the radio on, discos. Do you ever think about the punishment that you put your ears through?
We're exposed to all kinds of noise pollution these days. Everyone you see seems to have earphones in.
Yeah, but experts are becoming increasingly concerned that people are becoming hard of hearing earlier in their lives. Kyle Heidel has been speaking to one man with first-hand experience of loud noises. He played for Status Quo.
This is Jeff Rich playing the drums at a percussion workshop in Milton Keynes. This is him playing in concert in Northampton when he was a drummer with Status Quo. After more than 16 years on stage with the band, his ears got the worst of it.
And when I first played with them, there was no in-ear monitors, which was bands use now. They look like Walkmans in your ears, and you have a special sound with a pack on the side. Nowadays, they have that, but in those days, when I first joined, we had huge monitor systems. I had 4,500 watts of PA system behind me just with drums in. So something's got to go, and that's what happens.
Jeff runs a drumming workshop. He says if he'd known what was happening to his ears, he'd have used protection. At the age of 53, he now wears hearing aids. He says without them, everything sounds muffled. Hearing loss is affected by three things: how loud a noise is, how far you are away from it, and how long you listen. Your hearing is damaged by the vibrations of sound waves. Really loud noises like a jet engine can burst an eardrum, but extended exposure to quieter sounds like an MP3 player can be just as damaging. The constant vibrations damage the hairs in the auditory canal, which over time leads to permanent hearing loss.
It means that you start to mishear words. So you think, well, did someone just say share or chair or stare? And if you start to mishear those little sort of differences and you can't discriminate clearly, then you start getting the context of the conversation wrong, and then that's when you start coming out with the wrong answers and people start laughing at you, and that whole kind of emotion of withdrawing from conversation because you lose your confidence because you're not sure that you've heard correctly in the first place.
These children at Emerson Valley School in Milton Keynes all enjoy listening to loud music and their MP3 players.
I listen to music on the radio a lot, but I don't really think about how it could affect me.
I do listen to music, but I tried to keep it down a bit, because I do think about my hearing could go bad.
Your ears can protect you, but only to a limited degree. If you've been to a nightclub and your ears are ringing, then that is your own inbuilt defence system. However, it will only protect you for a short time, and the longer your exposure to loud noise, the more likely you'll end up deaf when you're older. Carl Heidel, Anglia News.
It is worrying, all the number of people that you see with earphones in these days.
We've got earpieces and we have to listen to the director all the time during the programme. Our ears are OK, but it does your head in.
I never listen, never hear anything. What?
Ignore her. Think back to the languages you learnt at school and you're almost certainly thinking of French or German.
But the times are changing and the emerging economic superpowers of India and China are starting to make an impact on our region.
And as Rebecca Atherstone's been finding out, one primary school near Bury St Edmunds is already ahead of the game.
Huanying Dao cherry trees.
10-year-old Imogen Winton welcoming us to cherry trees in Risby in Chinese. These children are some of the youngest in the country who are tackling the world's most spoken language. Over 1 billion people speak Chinese Mandarin compared to 450 million who rely on English. As the government put forward new plans to shake up foreign language teaching by telling secondary schools they could drop French or German in favour of Urdu or Mandarin, these little ones are already a step ahead. They've been learning Chinese here for a year.
Chinese is going to be the language of the future. There's no two ways about it. And I think with the industry and the commerce and everything else, a lot of these children will probably end up working in China for a period of their lives. And if we can help them to be able to speak the language, well, they're going to be ahead of the game.
They start the lessons here at just 3 years old, and that, says Hong Guan, is ideal.
Ni hao, Mrs. Guan.
Ni hao.
How important is it to teach the children the language this young?
Well, the children's brains are like sponges. They just absorb everything. And when they are young, and their brain is like that as well. So you give them things and you'll be amazed how quickly they learn.
There's no doubt that learning Chinese could prove to be economically very useful indeed. David Redhead's company has been exporting pile drivers to China for almost 20 years. He welcomes the move to teach Mandarin in schools.
As the Chinese market becomes more and more important, both stuff we're bringing into the UK and as an export market, I think it's quite essential that we start getting a hold of what's being said. Very difficult at meetings in China. You never quite know what's going on, and these folk, if you can understand a little of what they're saying, I'm sure it would be of help.
Back to the classroom. The children here are clearly having great fun tackling the language.
I like it because we learn lots of things about Chinese that we've never ever learned before.
As for the little ones, well, they like China for different reasons.
They've got dragons. In China, you can see dinosaurs.
Perhaps not dinosaurs, but certainly a very bright future beckons if they can master this language. Rebecca Atherstone, Anglia News, Risby.
Now, it's 2 years now since the ban on hunting was brought in. So tonight, our political programme, Anglia Late Edition, is looking again at the great debate.
Has the ban really crippled the countryside, as pro-hunt campaigners predicted?
Or have people adapted to hunting by other means? Opinions, as you'd expect, are divided.
This law is so badly written, it will not stand the test of time. It will go at some point, and the worst thing would be if we got rid of it and said, OK, we can go hunting now, but there were no hounds left. So the vital thing was to keep the infrastructure of hunts together. Farmers need foxes controlled. We are still allowed to do that. So what has it achieved?
It's got to be said that 2 years on, the Hunting Act is working. There are not people actively engaged in illegal fox hunting out there. We've got lots of people within the community who are following hunts, videoing and this type of thing, and we're not seeing masses of evidence, far from it.
To see more on that debate, watch Anglia Late Edition on tonight at 11:30 here on ITV Anglia.
Now, if you're a big music fan, then we've something very special for you to try and win now. A VIP night out at the 2007 Brit Awards.
Now, the Brits are taking place next Wednesday. That's Valentine's Day. And we're certainly rolling out the red carpet for our competition. It's all being televised on ITV, but we're going to give you 2 balcony tickets to the awards and put you up in a 4-star hotel, and we'll pay your travel costs, and we'll give you a car to take you to the show.
And all you have to do is answer a simple question. Here's Duncan James being interviewed last year. What we want to know, though, is this. Which boy band made Duncan famous? Was it A, Boyzone, B, Blue, or C, Westlife?
Call us on our new entry line, and that number is 09012 930 888. There we go. Or send a text to 63337 with the word Anglia TV and then A, B or C. And again, that text number is a new one too, 63337.
The prize has been supplied by MasterCard, and very importantly, both the winners who take up those tickets need to be over 16. It'll cost around £1 to enter, and there's more information on our website. The lines are open until 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Good luck. And now, a rare sporting event, an international rugby team taking on a club side.
It happened last night, of course, when Argentina, on a brief 2-match tour in this country, met Northampton Saints. Stuart Jarrold was at Franklin's Gardens.
It's been more than a century since an international team last played here at Franklin's Gardens, and the Saints haven't even put out their strongest side. But the match has still attracted thousands of fans.
Over 8,500 fans clicked through the turnstiles on a bitterly cold night. Argentina, the first international side to visit Northampton since the All Blacks in 1905.
I suppose we're going to be the underdogs, but, you know, as long as we have a good game of rugby.
I'd like to see the new signings we've got for the Saints, see some of the Argentinians players play, some of the internationals.
There were doubts about the match being played at all because of the frosty pitch, and the first half scoring was dominated by penalties and a drop goal, with Argentina leading at 12-3 at the interval.
International rugby here in the cold, but the main thing on the mind of Saints fans is the plight at the bottom of the Premiership.
Distance isn't a problem.
We've been there before, come up again, so fingers crossed, think positive.
I just hope we don't have to leave it to the last match of the season to know if we're staying up or if we're going down.
Keep the faith and hope we move up when we've got everybody back.
And an Argentinian made his debut for the Saints, hooker Matthias Cortese.
Yes, trying for me, play versus my country, versus a lot of strength, and play with my club at the moment. It's very wonderful.
Saints scored the first try of the game, a pushover by Damien Brown, and another in similar style by Mark Hopley later. There were 6 tries altogether in the second half, 4 of them scored by the Argentinians. In the end, the Saints team, which included several academy players and others making their first senior appearances, lost by 40 points to 17. But head coach Paul Grayson felt it had been a worthwhile exercise.
Our hand was forced a little bit in the team that we could pick, but they threw themselves into it, scored a couple of good tries, and you know we played some good football in the first half.
Cheers, mate. And after swapping shirts in the corridor, the young Saints players went home with a unique memento. They can tell their grandchildren of the day they were proud to have played against international opposition. Stuart Jarrold at Franklin's Gardens, Northampton.
Despite today's snow, there's absolutely no chance of our weekly football show Anglia Soccer Night being postponed later this evening at 11 o'clock. Peterborough United's Barry Fry, our regular pundit, is braving the conditions to come into the studio as usual. What a hero. And another live guest will be Jerry Harrison introducing the archive spot. He'll be looking back nearly 30 years to the time when mighty Manchester United were humbled by Ipswich Town.
Now, though, if you think you've got away with names, it's your last chance tonight to help the keepers at Whipsnade Wildlife Park.
They've got a month-old Asian rhino and they're keen for your help to find her a name with an Asian flavour.
And we've already had loads of suggestions, but why not send us yours? All you have to do is email mystory@angliatv.com. Tell us your name and where you're from and why you think your suggestion best suits the new arrival.
The winner gets a special behind-the-scenes family pass to Whipsnade. Apparently lots of people have already said Shilpa.
Really?
Where do they get that from?
I don't know. Topical. Now, though, let's return to our main story, the snowy weather. All day we've been asking for your pictures and we've had a fantastic response.
Really, it must be a record. Around 500 people have got in touch with photos and videos of what you've been doing. They're fantastic, so thank you. And this is now your snow show. Now that's a snowball.
Fantastic. Shame we couldn't show all of them. Thank you so much for all those brilliant photos.
Fantastic.
Best bit of the programme.
Well, let's see if there's any more snow to come. I don't think there is in there. We'll soon find out. Here's Wendy.
For whatever life throws at you, protection from Norwich and Peterborough, sponsors of Anglia Weather.
Hello again. This is your watchword for overnight tonight. Slippery roads, quite a possibility on untreated surfaces overnight tonight because, of course, we've had all of the snow throughout the day today. This is it on the radar picture here. A great swathe of it, some really quite significant bursts giving accumulations across the eastern counties throughout the day today. So, of course, some of that's going to be lying around overnight tonight. We may still have some wintry flurries, mainly up towards the north of the region overnight, and temperatures are falling to -3. Of course, with any snow, slush or water on the surfaces, that's going to turn to ice quite readily on untreated roads. Take care of that. Also be aware there may be some freezing fog to watch out for too, so still some hazardous driving conditions overnight. A freezing start to the day tomorrow too, and there may be some fog lingering as well, but most of us will have a dry day, plenty of cloud around there, I'm afraid. We might just get the odd sparkle of sunshine up towards the North Norfolk coast, temperatures around 2 or 3 degrees. As we get through to the weekend, well, not the most pleasant of days. There will be quite a lot of of rain moving through the region. A keen easterly wind setting itself up as well, so feeling quite chilly. Temperatures around 4 degrees. But we are gradually pulling ourselves away from this wintry snap as we get through to the second part of the weekend. It is staying generally unsettled and fairly breezy too. Looks like there will be some heavy rain on Sunday and into Monday, 1 or 2 showers on Tuesday, but possibly a little bit brighter. But temperatures are rather on the mild side. So take care once again. Good night.
Protection from the experts at Norwich and Peterborough.
So enjoy the snow while we still have it. We'll be back with headlines in a few minutes' time.
Now, though, it's time for ITV's National News with Mark Austin and Mary Nightingale. Thanks for your company tonight.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Tortured by the one who should have protected her, the little disabled girl who endured appalling abuse at the hands of her own mother. Beaten, scalded and locked up, the child was so badly injured she almost died. Police said it was the worst case they had ever seen.
When I met the young girl, she was in a terrible condition. I'm very happy to report now that she has improved dramatically with the care that she's now receiving.
7 years since the death of Victoria Climbié, have we learned nothing about how to protect our most vulnerable children? Tonight we ask, why has another been failed?
Also on the programme, accused of encouraging terror, this radical Muslim told us he'd go to jail for his views. Tonight he's under arrest. Power to the people, how millions of deserting customers force British Gas to slash their prices. And after the snow comes the ice, a new weather warning tonight of chaos across Britain.
Good evening. How could any mother treat her child like this? 3 years old, severely disabled and the victim of torture. Today, Kimberly Hart and her partner Samuel Duncan were jailed for what the judge described as systematic violence against a defenceless little girl. The details are certainly harrowing. A campaign of abuse which included kicking, scalding and locking up. She must, the judge said, have been in constant agony. Well, the little girl's appalling suffering has led to urgent calls for a full independent inquiry into Westminster Council's handling of the case. Our correspondent Juliet Bremner is live at Middlesex Crown Court. Juliet.
Well, the court's been hearing about a little girl suffering from cerebral palsy who was subjected to appalling cruelty at the hands of her own parents. Detectives said it was one of the worst cases they've ever had to deal with. When they found the child, she was in excruciating pain. She was being monitored by social services, and yet the judge said she could so easily have died. Some viewers may find the graphic detail in my report extremely upsetting. It was concentrated and horrifying abuse inflicted on a disabled 4-year-old girl. During 7 hellish weeks, Kimberly Hart and Samuel Duncan submitted their daughter to terrible cruelty. They kicked her repeatedly in the groin, locked her in a toilet for 49 days, scolded her by pouring boiling water over her hands, ripped clumps of hair from her head, effectively scalping her, and regularly forced the little girl to eat her own faeces.
I'm very happy that the judge has said that neither of these people will have care of young children again. When I met the young girl, she was in a terrible condition.
23-year-old Hart and 27-year-old Duncan persuaded the authorities that the child should be returned to them despite objections from the foster parents. Although the home was visited, on 5 separate occasions, social workers accepted excuses that they couldn't see the girl because she was out with her father. She was kicked about like a football, causing permanent liver damage. Yet, when she was taken to hospital, staff believed the injuries were a result of an accident. Sentencing the couple, Judge Daniel Worsley said, "You harmed her in a way that, in my judgment, amounts to torture of that little girl. Had you continued with your attacks, her little body would have given out." Despite the sickening details that have emerged in this case, an independent inquiry carried out here at Westminster City Council found that the child's injuries couldn't have been predicted, and neither should they be attributed to any professional failings.
Clearly it was a terrible crime, it was an awful outcome, so we can't be absolutely satisfied.
But how is it that a little girl who had these terrible injuries, and they were listed again in court today, that they weren't spotted? Because it seems they were very obvious.
But they happened very late. So there'd been no history of physical abuse of the children in these circumstances. Everybody was very concerned about the quality of parenting.
The judge jailed the couple with the warning that their daughter would bear her mental scars for the rest of her life. Juliet Bremner, ITV News, Westminster.
Well, 7 years ago, we were horrified by the case of Victoria Columbier, the 8-year-old who died at the hands of her great-aunt and her partner. So, in all that time, has nothing been learned?
Well, a report into Victoria's murder found that social services could have intervened many times to save her, but they didn't. Worrying echoes, then, of today's case. Our chief political correspondent, Daisy McAndrew, looks close up at why another child was failed by the system.
It wasn't supposed to happen again. Tortured and abused by her aunt and then repeatedly failed by the authorities. 8-year-old Victoria Columbier's horrendous death led to an inquiry meant to stop other children suffering the same fate.
Like Victoria Columbier, no one bothered to speak to this child. No one did. And I think that's very, 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 very painful. We all know, and especially the professionals, should have been aware that abusers do whatever they can to make their victims stay away from the public.
Lord Laming spent a year compiling the 108 recommendations in this report. Recommendations, he told me tonight, have manifestly not been implemented everywhere. He said good practice hasn't permeated. Now, a key part of this report is that the focus must be on the child, and a child at risk must be spoken to in private. That did not happen in this case. He also told me this evening he is deeply concerned the lessons of Victoria Columbier have not been fully applied.
Well, someone must be at fault then, so who is to blame?
Blame makes people defensive. When people are defensive, they want to protect their reputation and their image and what they've done, whereas you learn by being able to say, OK, I'll own what I did wrong, I'll own what was a mistake, I'll learn from it and I'll do it different next time.
Victoria Columbier's story was described as the worst ever case of childhood neglect. The inquiry in her name was meant to make a lasting difference. So why are these cases still happening? Daisy McAndrew, ITV News.
Abu Izzadeen, the Muslim radical probably best known for his barracking of the Home Secretary John Reid, was arrested under anti-terror laws today.
Earlier this week, he told ITV News he was prepared to go to jail for his views. He spoke to our UK editor Angus Walker, who now reports on a man accused of encouraging terror.
This is footage of Abu Izzadeen speaking at a public meeting at a community centre in Birmingham in July last year. It's comments made during this event that the police are believed to be investigating. Abu Izzadeen has been arrested under Section 1 of the Anti-Terror Act 2006, which outlaws the encouragement of terrorism. It's thought to be the first time that this legislation has been used. Earlier this week, I interviewed Abu Izzadeen about comments he'd made at a mosque in London in 2004. He told me he was simply explaining Islamic laws, which would only apply in an Islamic state. But I asked him then if he was prepared to go to jail for some of his outspoken statements.
It's the difference between me saying to you, he should have this punishment and he should have that punishment, and me saying to you, go outside and kill him. And we've made it very clear that there's a covenant of security, so I don't believe anybody would have the misunderstanding, and if they do, I think I've made it quite clear.
When they come in the morning to your house, they're not going to say Bismillah, Assalamu alaikum. They're going to kick your door down. When you're in bed with your wife, they'll drag you from your own bed under any guise. And you all know.
That was Abu Izzadeen protesting against police arrests when he gate-crashed a meeting between the Home Secretary John Reid and Muslims in East London last September. Friends say his arrest this morning is unfair.
And suddenly they're saying that, he's glorifying terrorism. Where were the accusations at the time? Why wasn't he picked up at that time? It seems to me that the atmosphere is ripe for more Muslims to be arrested, for more Muslims to be demonised.
Abu Izzadeen has always argued for the UK to become an Islamic state, but he told me this week he'd never encourage anyone to carry out acts of violence. Angus Walker, ITV News.
Some breaking news now. In the last few minutes, there's been a development into the investigation into the bird flu outbreak at a Bernard Matthews turkey farm.
Yes, DEFRA says it's working on the possibility of a link between an outbreak of the disease in Hungary and the one last week in Suffolk. Well, our political reporter Chris Shipp is live in Westminster tonight. Chris.
Yes, Mary, that statement from the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs released in just the last few minutes, I have a copy of it with me. It says that its tests have shown that the viruses in Suffolk and recent outbreaks in Hungary may well be identical. It says they're now investigating the possibility of a link between the two. And I think quite key, DEFRA say tonight, that our investigation has shown that one possible route of infection is poultry products imported from Hungary. Now, Bernard Matthews have insisted all along there's no possible connection between Hungary and here. Hungary, of course, was the latest outbreak of bird flu in the EU. It occurred in a flock of geese there. And despite that, Bernard Matthews own a turkey farm just 160 miles away from the site of that infection. But Bernard Matthews have said all along that all their birds have British mums and dads. They say there's not a remotest possibility there could be a link. And tonight they say the only link is their ownership of that farm in Hungary. But I think what this does raise tonight is the possibility of a link, which government scientists are now looking very closely at.
All right, Chris, thank you very much.
The American pilot who opened fire on British Army tanks in Iraq, killing Lance Corporal Matty Hull, was named by newspapers today. Colonel Gus Cohentop used to fly commercial planes and has been promoted since he returned from the war.
Indeed, he now trains other pilots. In an interview with a local magazine, he says seeing action there was the best thing in his career. Neil Connery reports on a man described in the US as a Top Gun.
The A-10 tank busters of Idaho's National Guard 190th Fighter Squadron returned to base after their latest training mission. This is where the pilot who fired on a British Army column in Iraq, killing Lance Corporal Matty Hull, is understood to be based. Colonel Gus Cohentop was awarded the coveted Bronze Star for his service in Operation Iraqi Freedom, but he now finds his actions nearly 4 years ago under scrutiny.
We got a vehicle? Okay, I wanted to get the first one before we get to that town then.
His voice is believed to be that of the pilot known as Popov 36 in the cockpit video leaked this week. Moments after the attack, ground control told the crew what had happened.
Roger, we're getting an initial brief that there was one killed and one wounded, over. Yeah, this sucks. We're in jail, dude.
In a magazine interview after the war in which he was billed as a Top Gun, Colonel Cohentop said, "My best piloting experience has been flying the A-10 in Iraqi Freedom." He went on to call it the epitome of my career. "You have to live with your actions," he said, "so make them worthwhile to your loved ones and this great nation." His neighbours would agree.
Yeah, he is a hero, and it's a damn good thing we have heroes like him in the United States to do the fighting that we've got to do against terrorists around the world. And you guys better get on board, and that whole damn country of yours, and along with the rest of Europe, you're going to go merrily sucking your thumb like you did in World War II.
The Idaho National Guard has apologised to Lance Corporal Matty Hull's family, but say that in the uncertainty of war, accidents can and do happen. It now seems almost certain that none of those responsible will face any disciplinary action by the US military. Neil Connery, ITV News.
Now, they promised the heaviest snowfall in a decade. It wasn't quite that bad, but nonetheless up to 6 inches fell on parts of South Wales and central England. More than 2,000 schools were closed and hundreds of flights were delayed or cancelled as airports across the country shut down.
Yes, take a look at this satellite map and the massive front that brought with it last night's snowfall. From out in the Atlantic, moving steadily eastwards and dumping along the way a huge blanket of the white stuff.
Well, with overnight temperatures predicted to fall below freezing tonight, the problem tonight and tomorrow is almost certainly going to be ice. More on that in a moment, but first let's go to Paul Davis, who reports on the whiteout.
For days we'd been warned it was coming, so early this morning the gritting teams were out trying to keep the roads open and safe. Many of us woke up to the heaviest snowfall of the year so far. And despite that advance warning, there was the seemingly inevitable chaos on the roads. This was Bedfordshire, close to Luton Airport, where early morning flights were grounded, while snowplows struggled to clear the runways. Facing cancellations and severe delays, some passengers waited for the weather to improve, while others were forced to make alternative plans.
We're waiting, we're going to drive now, over to Geneva on by car, the old traditional way.
Surrey from the air early this morning. As the snow fell heavier, many decided to stay at home. Those who managed to reach their local railway stations found that commuter services were also disrupted. It should have been school time, but thousands of head teachers had decided it was safer for children to stay at home. So across the country, they've been making the most of an unexpected holiday. This was the most widespread snow of the winter, causing problems for motorists in South Wales and the West Midlands. Inconvenience for many parts of England and northeast Scotland. But perhaps surprisingly, many police forces say the number of accidents has been less than on a normal day. The Highways Agency, monitoring the nation's roads, says most drivers are being sensible, and many decided not to take the risk.
Thankfully, traffic's been somewhat lighter than it has on a normal weekday, because I think most people, or many people, have heeded the warnings that have been put out in the media over the last few days, saying that don't travel in this unless you absolutely have to.
By early afternoon, they had won the battle to reopen runways at Luton, but thousands of air passengers had suffered long delays here and at Stansted, Birmingham and other regional airports. In many parts of the country, the evening rush hour began early. Motorists are aware the forecast predicts more problems to come as temperatures plummet once again. Paul Davis, ITV News.
Well, as Paul was mentioning, forecasters are predicting temperatures tonight are likely to fall well below freezing, making roads potentially treacherous again. Our correspondent Tim Rogers is live in Staffordshire tonight. Tim, what's the advice?
Well, yes, they're all very busy here, getting ready for another night. They've had 54 vehicles outside on the roads in Staffordshire, moving 2,500 tonnes of grit. And I can tell you that the forecast tonight is in the Midlands that temperatures are going to go down to -2 and -3 degrees. It'll be the same story in the southwest and South Wales. At Heathrow, it's expected that it'll be -1 degree down there. So there is concern about black ice across the country. In Lancashire and Cheshire, where it's been raining today, there's a lot of concern that that's going to turn to ice, black ice, which of course is treacherous, very difficult indeed. It didn't turn out to be quite as bad a day as we thought it would be, but difficult conditions, and these boys are going to be working through the night again. Back to you.
Tim, thank you very much for that update. And still to come on the evening news, the anger of the arrested. One of the 9 men questioned in the Birmingham terror raids tells ITV News he may sue the police after he was released without charge.
I want to consult the solicitors and see what they have to say. No decision has been made at the moment.
And smile, your pictures from across the country. Fun for some, but of course strife for others as Britain struggles to cope with today's blanket of snow.
But first, to lose 1 million customers is careless. To lose 2 million is very bad business indeed. British Gas tried to get some of those customers back today, announcing big cuts in its gas and electricity prices. They'll bring the average fuel bill down by almost £170. Some comfort for its long-suffering customers who have put up with 7 price increases in 5 years. As our consumer editor Chris Choi reports, it's power to the people.
Imagine if everyone in these 6 big cities switched off from British Gas. The last 2 years have seen the equivalent of just that, 2 million customers gone. So how do today's reductions affect 2 customers? Toby G, one of 16 million who hasn't switched away. And Julia Haywood, who is with another supplier.
And also cooking.
British Gas customers like Toby will save an average 17% on gas, yet the wholesale price of gas is down 50%.
It seems an odd time of year to do it at the end of the winter, to delay it till March, and you'd have thought they might have been able to do it a bit earlier. And also, I think a lot of people will be asking, is it enough?
I put that to the British Gas boss. Why have you only cut prices by 17%, but wholesale prices are down 50%?
We have to buy our gas in advance, so we've got a period where we're paying higher prices than we are today. Number two, unfortunately, your gas bill isn't just the price of gas, it's the cost of getting the gas from the beach into your home.
You're saying that the price will come down in the near future. Have you got
Next, what if you're not with British Gas? Julia Haywood called her supplier npower today.
They can't tell me the exact percentage of what they will be lowering their prices to, but they will say that they are looking to be in line with British Gas.
ITV News called energy companies EDF, npower and Powergen gave no firm timetable on reductions. Scottish and Southern promised change before March the 12th. No company would tell us the precise scale of reductions. A price war may be looming, but customers remain in the dark. Chris Choi, ITV News.
Let's take a look now at some more of tonight's news. And the father of a 5-year-old girl mauled to death by a pit bull terrier has admitted he knew the dog was dangerous. Ellie Lawrenson died after the attack at her grandmother's home on Merseyside on New Year's Day. Her father says the dog should never have been allowed near his daughter.
Interest rates stayed put at 5.25% today, despite fears the Bank of England would raise them. It means homeowners can breathe a sigh of relief, but economists say it's just a temporary reprieve and don't rule out an increase in the spring.
And profits at the Royal Mail have plummeted by 86%. It's been caused in part by a huge pensions deficit. It's now closing its final salary pension scheme to new staff because it can't afford to keep it open.
One of the 9 men arrested in the anti-terror raids in Birmingham last week and one of 2 released without charge yesterday has been speaking about his interrogation. Abu Bakr told ITV News he was considering legal action against the police.
He complained that Britain had become a police state and he said the detectives questioning him had been amateurish. Well, our correspondent Emma Murphy is live at Coventry Police Station where the remaining 7 suspects are still being held. Emma.
Well, Mary, for the last 7 days, Abu Bakr was held at this police station in Coventry after being arrested in a dawn raid last Wednesday under anti-terror legislation. He was released without charge last night and today spoke to ITV News about the events of the past week. He said that when he was arrested, he had no idea what he was being detained for, and throughout the entire process of questioning was never told about any potential plot to behead a British Muslim serviceman. He says he also does not know the other men who are also being held. Now, he says he feels that the constant arrests under the anti-terror legislation is moving Britain towards a police state. That's something that Downing Street today has denied. However, he dismisses their claims.
If you were to ask my father, my mother, my children, my wife, my family, the community, then they would say that if we're not already living in a police state, we're very close to it, because we're suffering as a result of government policy here, where the innocent is being detained, their liberties are suspended. You know, it's a case of not necessarily that the police are at fault with regards to detaining people. I think they're under pressure themselves by the government to be rounding people up when they want.
Now, Abu Bakr asked that we protect his identity, not because he has anything to hide, but because he now must rebuild his life and he's trying to avoid being in the constant glare of publicity. In the part, the rebuilding of his life will take consideration of where he goes now because of his arrest. He's going to consider and is thinking very strongly about taking legal action over his detention. That is a course of action that's being supported by the campaign group Liberty. Now, he spoke to us also about the fact that the allegations that there was a plot to behead a Muslim serviceman were made public when it wasn't even put to him when he was being questioned.
I personally would like to see a judicial inquiry as to who leaked stories to the media about a beheading plot, and why such allegations were taken so easily by the media. And you know, people's lives are at stake, people's liberties are at stake here. We're not just these ain't just frenzied stories. You know, I have to put my life back together now. and so does my family, and it's going to take a long time to readjust.
And this evening, 7 of those people who were arrested in the same dawn raids remain in custody here in Coventry.
All right, Emma Murphy, thank you.
Tonight's main news, a mother and her partner have been jailed for what a judge described as systematic violence against their 3-year-old disabled daughter.
Abu Izzeddin, the Muslim radical best known for barracking the Home Secretary John Reid, has been arrested under anti-terror laws.
And the American pilot who opened fire on British tanks in Iraq, killing Lance Corporal of Horse Matty Hull, was named by newspapers as Colonel Gus Courntop.
The headlines from Anglia: the snow's brought widespread problems, though most people have coped with it. Airline passengers were delayed, but both Luton and Stansted have now reopened. And a woman from Corby, Tracy McInnes, has won back £23,000 in bank charges for herself and her friends. She claims customers are still being overcharged.
Now, all day we've been asking you for your photos and your videos of the snow, and I have to say you sent them in your thousands. Thank you. Kirsty Poulton sent us this picture of her attempt at making the largest snowman in Hertfordshire.
It's a big snowman.
It's a big snowman, and here are the best of the rest.
Duncan Harris from Woburn sent us this picture of the snowman he and his family made today.
Liz Milton from East Clayton sent us this picture of her village.
This family of 6 snowmen was sent in from Joanna Runniger.
And another viewer sent us this from Peterborough. It's a camellia, I think.
Very pretty. And Barney and Janet from South Wales filmed their pet dog in their back garden this morning.
But the snow didn't have everyone leaping for joy.
Although these two were clearly dressed for the occasion.
And Phil Skorsky from Letchworth sent us this picture of his best friend. And that is it.
Later at 10:30, the football friendly that was anything but. The match between QPR and a visiting Chinese team ended with one player unconscious.
And join James Mates for that, but from the two of us and all the team here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
ITV National Weather, sponsored by Powergen.
Tears of the gods.
Oh yeah, why are they crying?
I've seen your haircut, mate.
Hello, good evening. Well, it really has been quite a day. Up to 15 centimetres or 6 inches of level snow in places. That was the exception, though. Many had only half of that, but that would still be enough to make it the snowiest event for about 10 years. Just makes the point that we have so little snow over recent winters. That's where the snow came from the south and west. It was sitting right across Wales, the Midlands and the southeast at 7 o'clock this morning. Since then, it's been edging very slowly north through the day. You can see it's been breaking up too. Holes appearing in that area of sleet and snow. Still some to move across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England overnight tonight, and we still have those wintry showers that we've had for days now up in the north and east. But it all gets lighter and more patchy as we go through the evening and night. And overnight, the main things to watch out for are frost, icy roads, and the chance of some freezing fog patches as well, particularly from the Midlands southwards, I think. But wherever you are, temperatures overnight tonight are near or below freezing, so the roads that have been left wet or still snowy by today's events will become very icy indeed, so do mind how you go. And then tomorrow, well, there'll be some showery outbreaks of rain around tomorrow. 1 or 2 wintry showers up in the north and east again, showers for Northern Ireland, a patch of rain in the southwest, and that'll ease its way along southern coastal counties during the day tomorrow. But in between, it's a much quieter day than today. Still a misty, frosty and icy start for some in central areas, but basically dry, the odd bright spell peeping through. But temperatures will struggle again tomorrow. It's still pretty cold. Only the southwest, mild, around 7 degrees. Even that's colder than it was today. For the rest of us, well, it really is a very chilly day. Winds pick up a little bit. Temperatures only around 3 or 4.
Yeah, I'll go and stand in the rain. That'll make it lie down.
Positive energy from Powergen.
Snowmen and sledging on a Thursday may have been great for the youngsters, but a nightmare for parents. Why did as many as 3,000 schools have to close today? Where are you expected to find childcare at short notice? Did the authorities really think it through? Tomorrow on GMTV, the cost of cancelling class.
Jasmine's playing detective next tonight, but has she discovered who murdered Tom King? Find out in Emmerdale with double bill of Third Rock from the Sun on ITV4.
I know what I feel like.
this time. I'm glad they don't know about this place. Think hiding it. Think Galaxy.
Get your skates on because Citroën prices are frozen. The chic C1 City car from only $5,795. The spacious 5-door C3 from only $6,740. Or the Zara Picasso MPV from just $8,995. And on selected C3 and Zara Picasso models, typical 0% APR with 35% deposit. Cool Citroën deals.
Quit smoking, and this is what you're up against. Smoking increases